And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other. And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
Just when we thought the woke circus was finally packing up, Rachel Zegler burst back onto the stage like a one-woman culture war grenade. That's right, the Disney darling who's starring in the Snow White remake decided that playing a fairy tale princess wasn't enough. Nope, she had to torch the legacy of the entire story while she was at it. In 2025, acting apparently comes with a side hustle in historical revisionism, because for Zegler, every press junket isn't a promo. It's a personal crusade to rewrite the past and scold the present. Forget dwarfs and magic mirrors. She's too busy rewriting gender roles and canceling anything made before Tumblr went mainstream. But then came the storm, and its name, Bill Maher. When Maher catches a whiff of woke absurdity, he doesn't just call it out, he drops the intellectual equivalent of a drone strike. And let's just say, Zegler's take on Snow White got napalmed. So buckle up, because today we're dissecting every savage line of Maher's brutal takedown, the hypocrisy, the Hollywood bubble, the absolute implosion of Disney's PR machine. This isn't just a roast, it's a full-blown cultural reckoning. Let's get into it.
And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other.
Alright, clips coming, but for those totally lost like Maher's guest, here's the chaos in 30 seconds. Rachel Zegler landed Snow White. Gal Gadot played the evil queen. Easy, right? Not when Zegler decided to light up Twitter with pro-Palestine takes right before release. Problem: Gadot served in the Israeli military. Cue the internet meltdown. Reports say Gadot got threats. Disney amped up security, and when Zegler was asked if she'd gone too far, she didn't backtrack, she doubled down. So yeah, that's the firestorm behind the clip you just watched. Now, back to Maher's brutal demolition.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
This is like a golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, there's 7 of them.
That has, and there's seven. Dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
Honestly, the woke left should stop pretending they're pushing progress, because what they're really selling is pure regression, backwards logic, and a shiny virtue signaling wrapper, and nowhere is that more obvious than in Disney's Snow White debacle. We all grew up with the classic fairy tale, zero wokeness, just magic. But fast forward to 2025, and apparently even casting actual dwarfs in Snow White is problematic. Why? Because Disney didn't want to reinforce stereotypes. So instead of hiring real actors with dwarfism, they hit copy-paste on some CGI creations like it was a Marvel spin-off. That's their idea of progress. Newsflash, that's not inclusivity, it's erasure. You're not fixing anything by cutting roles from marginalized actors. You're just making their careers even harder. But hey, as long as the press release sounds enlightened, right? And just when you think the madness peaks, bam! Enter Rachel Zegler with a TED Talk no one asked for. Get ready, folks. This next clip, it's a full-blown masterclass in woke cringe.
Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, I mean, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all. And for Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town. who's
Did you catch that tone? The smug sarcasm practically oozing out of her mouth. And let's not pretend, that wasn't just commentary. That was a direct shot at Gal Gadot. To Rachel Zegler, Gal isn't just a co-star. She's a walking symbol of everything the woke elite want to cancel. Tradition, strength, and unapologetic values. And guess who's leading the charge into this glittery, delusional dystopia? None other than Rachel woke white Zegler herself. Seriously, you couldn't script a bigger ego trip, but here's where it gets darker. This isn't just naive idealism. The woke machine is ruthless. Disagree? You're not just wrong, you're a target, a threat, a villain to be erased. We'll get into the backlash bloodbath in a minute, but first, brace yourself. Here comes another clip of Zegler doing what she does best, talking trash like it's a paid gig.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows?
I warned you. And now, here we are, drowning in yet another woke dumpster fire. Why does the modern left have this compulsive urge to ruin literally everything we once loved? Snow White used to be a fairy tale. Now it's a thesis on toxic masculinity. Nobody watched the original and thought, is this prince actually a stalker? But in 2025, that's exactly the narrative we're being force-fed. Suddenly, a sweet kiss is a war crime. The prince is public enemy #1, and a love story becomes a think piece on white male oppression. But they're not done. Oh no, the woke inquisition wants every classic gutted, rewritten, and resold as a woke sermon. Forget magic, forget wonder, forget love. Now every movie must bow at the altar of identity politics. And honestly, I miss the old days, when studios told stories, not hosted lectures. Because if this keeps up, we won't need fairy tales to escape reality. We'll need them just to remember what sanity looked like. But if you think Rachel Zegler's insanity began with Snow White, buckle up. Let's rewind to her unhinged meltdown the day Trump won the election. Here's what she tweeted, and I quote, "Another 4 years of hatred, a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in. May Trump supporters and Trump himself never know peace." Yeah. That wasn't just a bad take. That was a full-blown emotional spiral broadcast to the entire world. Forget activism. Zegler launched into full hysteria, framing motherhood as a curse and unborn life as disposable waste. Because in her twisted utopia, a tree deserves more protection than a baby. A fox gets more sympathy than a fetus. It's delusional, it's disturbing, and somehow Hollywood applauds it, and that's exactly why Snow White is crashing harder than anyone expected. My sources show the film has only scraped together $96 million at the box office, on a budget of $270 million. Experts say it needs to hit $500 million just to break even, but from where I'm standing, that finish line might as well be on Mars. This isn't just a flop, it's a cultural rejection, a massive public wake-up call, and no amount of woke preaching can spin that into a win.
Do we have a moment for Rachel Zegler and Snow White? Because there is an update in that story today. There was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece, was it Variety, talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her." And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, "Good job, Rachel." And then she, like minutes later, followed it up with, "And never forget, free Palestine." This is just like a few months after 10/7. It was like, it hadn't even been a year. And they were like, my God, what?
And isn't her co-star Jewish?
Yes, Gal Gadot, whatever.
Gadot.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's Jewish, and apparently this actually, all hell broke loose.
Rachel Zegler has officially become the curse Disney just can't lift. She's not just bad press, she's a full-blown cinematic hex, dragging Snow White into the fiery pit of box office oblivion. At this point, they might as well rename the whole thing Woke White and the 7 Career Killers. Had Disney just focused on making a magical, feel-good fairy tale instead of handing Zegler a soapbox for her social justice monologues, maybe this film wouldn't be circling the drain. But no, they chose lectures over legacy. Instead of casting a spell on audiences, they dropped a manifesto with glitter. And the public response? A collective eye roll and a hard pass. Now Disney's in a full-blown PR nightmare, strapped to an actress who insults fans, trashes the source material, and repels moviegoers faster than a plague. What they're left with is a film no one asked for and a disaster no one can ignore. But here's the kicker. Someone, either on Zegler's team or inside Disney HQ, finally realized her non-stop woke rants were nuking the movie's chances. So what did they do? They trotted her out for a limp fake smile apology video. A soulless damage control performance that fooled absolutely no one. Roll the clip, let's watch the spin machine in action.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
If there's one thing we've learned about the woke elite, it's this. They'll fake contrition the second their bank accounts start to bleed. Rachel Zegler's apology? Disney's damage control, please. That wasn't regret. That was pure panic in a glossy package. They're not sorry for torching a beloved classic. They're sorry the backlash hit harder than they expected. Behind closed doors, you just know they're doubling down, rolling their eyes at the peasants who dared to criticize their brilliance. But here's the cold, brutal truth. Audiences are done being scolded. They're done watching fairy tales morph into political propaganda. They want magic, not Marxism. They want stories, not lectures wrapped in glitter. And if Disney keeps choosing ideology over imagination, then they deserve every flop, every boycott, and every last empty theater seat. The way things are going, bankruptcy isn't just a threat, it's a finish line they're sprinting toward. And with that, we wrap today's takedown. If you loved watching Hollywood trip over itself in real time, smash that like button and subscribe for more unfiltered truth bombs. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep your popcorn ready. The meltdown's only getting messier.